It's just what number works for you. And then they have to give you the second document that is a must is authorization to release, because the bank. Hey, this is Ola coming to you from OLALawrence.com. I'm one half of a partnership here. My father, Lawrence, was the real estate agent here, broker, licensed, and we can help you basically with anything you need when it comes to real estate. You're looking to sell, to buy, to invest, we can help you with that. Today we're talking about how to buy foreclosures and short sales. Okay, how to buy foreclosures and short sale. Should you be looking at short sales at all? Is that really a good type of deal you should be looking at? But before I get into short sales, I want to talk a little bit about foreclosures, and I get that question a lot, and I wanted to basically break down a few things. Okay, when most people, when they ask me about foreclosure, they're not quite clear on the differences between pre-foreclosure and foreclosure, or auction, surety sale, and all those kind of things. Most people are thinking of foreclosure as auction, but most foreclosures start with pre-foreclosure, or what they call the lease pendings, which means pending lawsuit, right? So basically, in New Jersey, I'm going to give you an example of New Jersey. It's pretty similar in all other states, maybe a little bit of variations here and there, but in New Jersey, it takes about 10 to 12 months before an actual foreclosure auction actually happens, after the owner stops paying. Okay, now if an owner stop paying on their property or paying their mortgage, and they stop being up to date, about 3 months later, about 90 days later, they will get hit with what you call the lease pendings, which is the pending lawsuit, which is basically an intention to file a lawsuit, right? So that will list their home in a public record called the lease pendings, or pre-foreclosures. That's the generic name for it. It's pre-foreclosures. It's not yet foreclosed on, but they're heading towards foreclosure, and the bank has basically notified them both publicly and with a letter to their home, and you and I have access to that list, okay, at your local county house. And there's a lot of services on the internet that provide such list, okay, of people that are in pre-foreclosure. That means people that are 90 days or more late on their mortgage payment. Okay, at this stage, there's no foreclosure yet. It's just pre-foreclosure, and the owner is still the owner of the property, and they still have the right to sell the property if they wanted to. But there's a few tricks to it, and a few things that I want you to know about that. Okay, remember that it depends on when they purchase the property. Okay, but before I get into how to buy pre-foreclosures, let's talk about the actual auction itself. So a lot of time, there's another list that will be published once the county sets a date to foreclose on the property and actually go through auction, right? There will be another list that will be published, and that list will basically be called auction. Depends on what county that you are looking at, but it will be called auction. Basically, they will set a date, and there will be an auction date that they will actually do an actual auction of the properties that are available for sale at the county sheriff auction. So when that happens, when they get that date, sometimes the homeowner still owns the property until the actual auction, and sometimes they're a lot more desperate to sell the property, or should I say motivated to sell the property. But usually within the period of time that they receive that to the point that the auction is actually going to happen, it can be a very short period of time. Also, you have homeowners that will just be like, just let it go, right? So if they say just let it go, they're still the only one that can sell the property, but you will find that they won't cooperate with you to even try to go through the process of purchasing the property. Now, if you can manage to get them to cooperate with you, because they still own the property legally, so they still have to sign to sell you the property. But that's not just it, right? It also depends on the payoff. How much exactly do they owe that made them get into foreclosure in the first place, or made them go late on their payment in the first place? That's a factor that you basically want to know. You need to know that number, because it could be that the property is underwater. What do we mean by underwater? Underwater means the property, they owe too much on the property. They owe much more than the property is worth. So for example, they owe $350,000 on the property because they purchased it in the heat of the market, in the height of the market value, and now the property is only worth $250,000. So in that case, that's what we call the property is underwater, or you call it negative equity. They owe $350,000, the property is only worth $250,000. It could be part of their motivation to just let go and stop making payment. They may feel cheated by the bank and they don't want to make payment on that property anymore. So there are all kind of unique situations that will make people want to do that. Okay, so now with that being said, they are letting go of a property that's negative equity. So if you go there and you want to purchase the property either as a pre-foreclosure, that means they're only 90 days late, or maybe 11 months later when the bank is actually now foreclosing on them, at that point in time, you cannot just get them to agree to sell the house. They have to agree to sell the house, but there's another party that you need to agree to sell the house, and that will be the mortgage holder, the bank that they actually hold money to, right? Those people have to agree to sell you the property for less than what they owe. Because remember, they're owing $350,000 on the house, right? But you cannot turn around and pay $350,000 for that house because you know it's worth $250,000. You're probably trying to purchase that property for $200,000, $180,000 because again, you're trying to purchase foreclosure. And the reason why you're trying to purchase foreclosure is because you want to make profit. You want to buy it so you can sell it for profit, put some work into it, and then sell it for profit, or maybe live in it, but with inbuilt equity, right? So you want to be able to purchase for less than what it's actually worth, and that's what you should be doing. If you're going to deal with that at all, you might as well purchase it for less than what it's worth. So with that being said, you need to purchase a property for less than what is worth. Okay, what is worth? Anyway, right, less than what is worth. You want to be able to purchase it for less than what is worth, right? And then so you need the bank to agree to that because this person owes the bank $350,000. And so whenever you need to get the bank to agree to accept less than what is owed to them, that's called a short sale. That process, a lot of time, realtors will sell it to you as a simple process. The banks will tell you it takes 60 days. By the way, that means 60 days minimum, okay? A short sales is exactly how I started my career in real estate back in 2005. And I can tell you because I've done a ton of them. Okay, I can tell you that I've done short sales that took 2 weeks, and I've done short sales that took 2 years to complete, and everything in between. In most cases, it takes a lot longer than 2 months, than 60 days. Okay, so is this something you should be buying? As long as you're not under any kind of time constraint, and you're really trying to use time in your favor, because time is going to become equity for you. You expect that this property may go as long as 5 months before the bank actually finally give you what you call a short sale approval. That short sale approval will tell you on the letter that, hey, I'm agreeing to sell this person the property for $190,000. Okay. Now, why would they want to sell it for $190,000? Typically, when you apply for a short sale, which means you will need the signature from the present homeowner. You need them to give your realtor, who is going to facilitate the whole process. They need to give that realtor a sales contract, which says they want to sell the property for whatever you want to buy it for, right? So you get to say initially, this is what I want to buy. They don't care because remember they owe $350,000. They just want to get rid of the property, right? So now they give you a contract of sale for the amount, the initial amount that you guys agree to, which they typically don't care. It's just what number works for you. And then they have to give you the second document that is a must, is authorization to release, because the bank will have to talk to the realtor about this particular mortgage account. So the bank needs something in paper, a legal paper that says we're allowed to talk to this person. Kind of similar to the same document that your doctor would take from you before they can share information with a third-party referring doctor, right? It's called authorization to release, right? So those two documents has to be signed, and then the bank will start the process. Then they will ask for some more documents, and then the facilitator, which is usually the realtor or the agent, will collect those documents from the seller and get it to the bank. That process takes a while. Depends on how quick the bank responds. Depends on how quick the realtor can respond. It depends on how quick they're putting all this stuff together. And typically the time waster is the bank, because the bank has tons of files on their table that are short sales. So they take the time basically because the property is already late. It's called a non-performing asset on their books. They want to get rid of it, but they go through a protocol. So it takes months, a lot of time, depending on the bank. So the bank will basically now at some point they will send out a realtor or an agent or an appraiser to do what they call a BPO, a broker's price opinion. So a broker's price opinion will tell the bank what they think the property is worth, right? And then the bank will use that number to negotiate with you. So the person may go back and tell the bank it's worth 220, and then the bank will say, hey, we'll take 90% of that. In that case, they will slash $20,000, $22,000 off of that 220. So they will say, hey, they will basically counter offer you 190 with 198. In that case, you've purchased a property that's worth 250 for 198. Is it doable? Yes. Does it take time? Yes. The time it's going to take and your patience is what's going to turn to an equity for you. Okay? It's the same process except that you had on having to deal with the bank because the bank needs to approve and agree that they're selling you this house for what it's worth, for what less than what they owe to them. They owe them $350,000. They're selling you to 198. They want to get rid of that property because they want the 198 because the property is not performing. The mortgage, which is the asset that the bank owns in that equation, is not performing because they stopped paying like 10 to 12 months ago, right? A lot of times longer than that if the city and the county is backed up, right? And so they just want whatever they can get because the main reason why they got into that mortgage business has stopped. So they just want 198 because that money is worth a lot more than the money they're not receiving, right? So what they usually do is they will turn around and they will try to collect the balance from the seller. Or they will say, hey, we'll write it off, but you're going to have to pay taxes on the difference between 198 and 350. And, they have to talk to the accountant on how that works. So that's how you can buy pre-foreclosure. The second way for you to buy foreclosures is when you take cash, right? Or private funds to the sheriff sale auction and actually buy from the auction. There's a lot of auction websites these days too. But you have to be careful with those things because properties, especially when it comes to the structure of the foundation and things like that, if you haven't seen the property and done inspection of the property, you should not be dropping such amount of cash on a property. So I don't recommend for newbies or people that are new to real estate to go buy from auction. That means sheriff sale. That means actually at the doorsteps of the sheriff office in your county. I don't recommend that because they don't allow you to see the property. You're basically buying, you're blindfolding yourself and you're buying basically on speculations that the property will still be there. If you have some experience, you may be able to do some evaluation, drive by and purchase such property, but you will need cash because they don't allow mortgages or things like that to purchase such properties. You need private funds of some sort. But when you're buying pre-foreclosures and you're buying from short sale, you can still use mortgage. It's just that it takes time usually. And that time is, most people don't have that kind of patience. Most buyers are not going to wait around to hear from the bank. Most realtors are not going to have answers for you. They will keep telling you, we're waiting for the bank, we're waiting for appraisal from the bank. They will keep saying that. But the truth of the matter is that all they can do is follow up and they don't have an answer because it takes a while. Can it take 2 weeks? Yes, if you're lucky, but the real key word there is luck. You have to be lucky, and it can take 2 weeks, it can take 3 weeks, it can take 2 years, from my experience. And it also depends on how assertive that the realtor is on following up. Okay, and it really depends on the bank. It depends on a few factors if you notice. And so, should you buy short sales, aka pre-foreclosures? Sure, if you have the time. Now, there's one more scenario that I haven't shared with you. What if that the pre-foreclosure, that there's actually equity in the property? The person owes about $100,000. They're owed. They're only making money from retirement now. And the property is worth $250 after repair value. But they don't mind getting rid of it. Just give them $5,000 so they can move on to an apartment. Sometimes they ask for $10,000. Can you be lucky like that? Yes, you can be lucky like that. So how do you find such pre-foreclosures? You have to be in the marketing game. You have to market to pre-foreclosures basically as a real estate investor professional. If that's what you want to do, that's also something that's absolutely very doable. In all of this, whichever one that interests you the most, or you have other real estate needs that you would like to take advantage of, feel free to book a free consult with me at OLALawrence.com/go. You see the link on the screen, and we're here to help you if you need anything. Please help me share this video with your loved ones. Like the video, because that tells YouTube that you like it. They will show it to more people if you do that. If you have any questions, book a consult with me. You can also, if it's not too private, you can also use the comment area on YouTube to share with me. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated on this one. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.